This week on the show, we welcome back one of our very first guests.
Yeah.
Garrett Hunter from Mega64. And if you're enjoying the show and want to help support it, make sure to check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/KojimaFreak.
I'm gonna start using that as like a shady comment now. That tagline, should we have connected?
That's what it seems like. The energy from that like message seems very like, I don't know, it's like regretful or like, and they were actually talking about it on the latest episode of Brain Structure.
Yeah, I haven't been able to catch up with that because I've lost my mind in Dragonflight with Apache.
I'm not admitting to playing World of Warcraft anywhere publicly.
Okay,
If anyone asks me, I don't play it.
Yeah, I'm already judging you. It's too late.
It's a new expansion.
Hey, look, man, they put Spyro in between RPing, okay? That's all you needed to tell me, and it worked. But aside from that, I mean, it's been kind of an incredible week for Kojima fans, huh? We had to scrap the last episode because there's like absolutely nothing going on. But we kind of knew, with all the posts in the back of our head, like something was going to happen.
Yeah, it was the quiet before the storm. Hey, I'm Fingers.
Yo, it's Apache Smash.
Hey everyone, this is Days Ahead.
And I'm Nitroid. You're listening to the Kojima Frequency.
Yeah, I feel very lucky to be on post-game awards,
Yeah, we were definitely really hyped to have you. And definitely welcome back. This is your second time on the show. You were one of the very first guests on this show, actually. I think you were the second guest. We had our buddy Nourish Psych on as the first guest.
Wow.
But yeah, it's been a minute, but
It
I'm
has.
definitely excited to have you back on, man.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. I've been listening. I've been keeping up. I go through like waves where I like binge my podcast and then I go back to radio for like a month and then I have all these podcasts to listen to again. And you guys are on that list, and I've been since I don't fuck with Brain Structure, sadly, because I am not a Spotify user. So that's what it's on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get my recaps from you guys, and you've said in the past, like, oh, maybe we're recapping too much. I say nay. Recap all you want, because I'm getting the info distilled through the real Kojima fans here.
So we could just make up anything and you'd never know it.
I wouldn't. I really wouldn't.
We have heard through a few people, they're like, yeah, we listen to your show, but not Brain Structure, really. It's just not.
I'm one of them.
That's an honor, but
The way I look at it is like, it's two different like use cases or purposes, right?
yeah.
It's not shade to Kojima, just it's not really what they're looking for. So who knows?
Yeah. Oh, it's not shade to Kojima. It's honestly the medium. Like it's locked in on SoundCloud or whatever it's locked in on.
Spotify, yeah.
Spotify, yeah. Two apps I just don't want to use. I'm the Luddite here. It's nothing other than my stubbornness. But it's like, if it was an RSS feed, I'd have it in my podcast app, no problem. But I'll tune in if something's like big and newsworthy. It gets highlighted, in other news outlets and stuff. So that's where I pick up info that comes out of the podcast. But
yeah, some journalist will write a whole ass article about a sentence that he says on there, and you'll get the
Usually
joke
right after Nitroid tweets about it.
Yeah,
yeah.
Funny that.
Yeah. No, seriously, it just happened like 3 times.
You're newsworthy.
Truly.
I'm really not.
Making headlines. You definitely, you guys like put it in my head that if you see Hideo Kojima land in California in the next couple weeks, it's because he's gonna be on the Game Awards, the Keighleys as we call it.
Yes.
And
I want that to stick.
you put that in my head, and I was searching through, like for the rest of that week on his Instagram feed, and then I saw a shot of him eating In-N-Out burger.
Yeah, the In-N-Out sealed the deal. Yep.
I thought, I saw palm trees in another one, but it's like, it could be Florida.
Yeah.
But this In-N-Out burger, I knew. I was like, he's going on the Keighleys.
Yeah. It was official DEFCON 1.
Would have been so funny if he was just hanging out there, didn't show up at the Game Awards, just on vacation.
Yeah.
Got a burger. Good luck, Jeff.
Yeah, met all my favorite directors.
Just making my rounds, you know.
Met Al Pacino, Dunkachino.
Oh my god. So much to cover. I mean,
Yeah, no, we're bouncing all over the place, but it's great. This is like that abundance of Kojima news all of a sudden that we have now from.
Let's start there though, Days.
There's so much we want to talk about, not just Kojima, but something else, but I'm not going to bring it up right now.
Okay.
So we'll just start off with Kojima. Yeah, so Garrett, I take it you adhere to the levels of Kojima DEFCON, as we do.
Sure,
and we were sort of hinting at that DEFCON 1, right? So very exciting.
And it happened, yeah.
Yeah, so how about that trailer for I'm like hesitant to call it Death Stranding 2, right? Because I keep seeing just DS2. It's a working title, DS2, which the Kojima fan in me in the back of my head is like, is this part of some sort of, I don't even want to use the word ruse, but if it's some part of some sort of like curated experience about the title, like there's a reason why it's still DS2. Like Kojima wouldn't just do like a working title. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree with you. I'm curious what you guys think, because I think Keighleys also referred to the first game as DS1.
Yeah, I think the first time that they revealed it actually was they just put DS on the screen. That was like the first thing they showed. So this might be a nod.
It was
to
on his
that.
shirt.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, I remember the shirt.
Yeah. They mentioned that on the recent Brain Structure, talking about how it was just DS on his shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what to think, because why not continue with... There's got to be a reason you don't keep the very recognizable hit video game title Death Stranding in the sequel's name. You know, why cut your maybe normie audience down because they don't know what DS2 is now?
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason.
Because you said normie. You said normie, and I didn't picture like the term normie. I know that like I use the term normie regularly, unfortunately. But like when you said normie, I was just picturing like Norman Reedus fans, like, oh, we're the normies. We're here for Norman Reedus.
We love Walking Dead.
Yeah. Speaking of Walking Dead, let's talk about how. Well, not talk too much about it, but I do like how both of the Dixon brothers were featured at the Game Awards, the Keighleys. And the Death Stranding trailer, and what was it? That like game that had like every fucking actor in it.
Yeah,
starring Michael Madsen.
What was that?
And I can't remember the name for the life of me, but it looked amazing.
Oh, the shit that had Chuck Norris and stuff. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Way to market your game. It's like, yeah, put a bunch of people in there, but none of us remember what it's called. You guys did a great job.
It's that game.
That one with the fucking actors in it.
I'm just gonna Google.
It was like a Call of Duty Zombies, but you know, all those actors are just. Were they like gangsters? It was. What was that?
Yeah, they were all like mobsters.
We weren't paying attention at all during. We did our burst transmission and just watched it live. We're just kind of just roasting the whole thing.
Just call it the Expendables 5 and get it over with.
It's kind of what it was. It seemed like
Rocky City. That's what it's called. And I had to Google Michael Madsen
say that again?
Google News to find the title.
Say that one more time.
It's called Crime Boss Rocky City.
Wow.
I'm not going to remember
name.
that. I'm just going to call it Crime Boss.
Bad name.
Crime Boss is good. Yeah, Rocky City. That's too much.
Not to diverge from the conversation about the DS2 trailer.
No, it's hard not to, because it was such a star-studded Game Awards. You know, I was expecting some Muppets. I'm happy we got an S-tier Muppet. We got Animal instead of, you know, Pepe the King Prawn. No fault of Pepe's. But, dude, starting out the gate with Al Pacino and then to Michael Madsen, and just how star-studded. I think this was the most Hollywood that the Keighleys have ever been.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think it was one of my favorites, too. Like, it was like a fun one. I don't know. I had like a good time with this one. I didn't really walk away too disappointed. Not too many good games really coming out of it that I'm super hyped for, you know, besides DS2. But
speak for yourself, Armored Core.
Yeah.
Yes, I am with you.
I mean, I never played one, but okay.
I do love how I stepped away to use the bathroom when Armored Core got announced, and I knew it was a new Armored Core because I checked my Twitter feed and people were like, oh, it looks like a good From Software game is finally coming out, and I knew it was those Armored Core folks shit posting.
that sounds right.
So good job, folks. You did well.
Yeah, who else here is just me and Nitroid into the Armored Core franchise?
Oh no, I loved it. I loved the very old Armored Core titles.
Yeah.
I got a demo for the first one, and I would play it all the time. And every time I would go to the game store, I was like, I have to have this game. I have
Whoa,
to
whoa,
have
whoa,
this game.
whoa, whoa! Wait, Apache, you're playing a Japanese game about a Big Mac? What's
Yeah,
going
I
on?
was like, can I do that again? I was like, can I do it again? Because I said that like so many episodes ago. I posted on Twitter as well as soon as the game got announced. I was like, am I really going to play a Japanese game about a big mech?
No.
I'm here for it. It's been too long. I mean, that franchise like went away for so long. So happy that that's coming back. Because I definitely enjoyed those, like the first two.
God, that's been like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I feel like that's a game that's really going to benefit for like how much graphic fidelity has improved over the years. Like
Totally.
that could be a really amazing looking game. And I don't really think there's any super good games where you drive a mech. I'm sorry for any fans out
Armored
there.
Core, it's such a niche game, despite having such a long history. I mean, I couldn't tell you a damn thing about the story, but those games are built. It's like
Me
the
neither.
Gran Turismo of mech games because you can really
Yeah.
get down to the nuts and bolts of the mechs and customize things, and like you have a lot of control. It is not easy at times, but it's
No.
so interesting.
Apache, when we go to MagFest, we're absolutely getting on the virtual machine, arcade machine.
Jeez.
If you don't know what that is, you're gonna find out.
Oh yeah, that's a classic Sega mech fighter. Yeah. I think that Armored Core started on the PlayStation because I had the first two.
PS1,
It
I
did,
think it was-
yeah.
Yeah, PS1 and PS2, and then I kind of fell off. Like I didn't play 3 or 4 or any of the other like Frontline of the spin-offs or whatever. But I am excited for that to come back.
I played 4 a lot. That was a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Steel Battalion as well, right? Where you had the actual big ass controller.
Oh God, that thing.
Right. I've only seen that at
Yeah.
conventions.
That was that Xbox peripheral? Yeah.
Wasn't that like $200 for that controller?
Yeah.
or more?
yeah, it was.
If not
It's kinda-
more, yeah.
I never played that, but I feel like I remember like an X-Play review of that or something.
It's kind of hard to get hold of now as well, and it's like super
Mhm.
expensive. Original Xbox too.
I've only seen it set up and playable at like a convention free-to-play room or like an arcade. Like I think at PAX, they have a really good, PAX Prime in Seattle has a really good arcade setup. I believe like that someone brings that in, it's personal, and they set 2 of them up head to head, and that's like its own. That's the only time I've ever seen people play that or actually looked on that blessed controller with my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite the setup.
Need like a PhD to play that game.
There's a fucking auto eject button. Like it has a
Yes,
button
if
for
you don't,
everything.
and if you don't
Seriously?
auto eject, like you can lose your progress and shit. It's
Yes.
It
wild.
deletes your save. It deletes your save. Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
crap. God, I wonder how that emulates.
And they said From Software was hard.
I mean, this one's gonna be. They've learned a lot since the last Armored Core.
Sure, yeah.
There's no way they're not bringing all that knowledge in.
Those were the 2 big releases for me, though, in this year's Keighleys. It was the Armored Core announcement and then the Death Stranding one, which I kind of thought once, like, I saw that he was eating In-N-Out Burger. I knew he was there to announce something. And for me, it was like, okay, is this going to be a new game? Like maybe what's rumored to be exclusive to Xbox that he's been working on? Maybe a guy without a shirt is going to, showcase this during the Game Awards. But was it going to be Overdose or is it going to be Death Stranding? And I was kind of leaning towards, I hope it's Death Stranding. So I'm happy. I feel like I got what I wanted.
I was the opposite. I was leaning. Well, I was aligned with what I was hoping for, but I was in terms of expectations. I was also sort of expecting like a Phantom Pain-esque like Overdose reveal.
A misdirect kind of thing.
Yeah, and this was like so much more. So I have so many questions. I don't like watching trailers because I find that they tend to answer questions I don't want answered until I actually get into the product. But I love because there's so many questions I have, and they all it touches on all the questions I had left when I beat Death Stranding. So
Yeah, with Kojima, it's definitely like you've always said, it's part of the experience. It's like that curated, like, all right, we're going to start you here on this first trailer just to get you going. And it's
Yes.
like, that's kind of like going in, you need all that.
yep.
It was really cool hearing him talk about it on their podcast too. How he said like that first trailer for Death Stranding when like Norman Reedus was all on the beach alone and naked or whatever, like it was actually kind of like a technical limitation. They're like, so we only had like one body scan of like Norman Reedus like naked, and like we had one of like a whale, and we had one of the baby. And like that's all we had really, like asset wise. So we just had to kind of like work with that. And like that's kind of like,
Oh, wow.
those are like just some of the connections that I still had from like the previous, because I knew Norman from PT. So like I got him to come in and scan stuff. He was like, you know, he tells the story. He's like, oh, it was just me, my phone, and a laptop. Oh, you know, but you know, it was kind of cool to hear like the reason that trailer kind of happened like that. It was that early in the planning stage that he was like, all right, this is all we've got so far. Kind of, you know, like I'm sure he had, you know, stuff planned out story wise, but as far as just like what he actually had on board at the time, it was pretty much just Norman and, you know, some other assets. So I thought it was pretty cool.
He worked within his limitations, and then he came out with
Yeah.
probably an overarching theme of the game because of that. It's interesting too because his trailers are kind of known for not having stuff that's in the final game. So I wonder if we saw some stuff in this reveal trailer that eventually will be changed or altered or just not in the final game.
Mm-hmm.
With Phantom Pain, like there were a lot of shots of like Venom Snake walking down the hallway covered in blood, and then that kind of changed for the final game. So you get stuff like in his curated releases that are really him flexing his directing chops, but maybe not necessarily spoiling game stuff.
With the last batch of trailers, we had people like syncing up the different trailers and like playing them at the same time, and things were kind of happening on the screen at the same time. I saw today someone
right.
compared it, this new trailer to the one with Cliff from the previous trailer where you know he's running away with BB, and stuff was kind of lining up, and I was just like, oh shit, it's on that level again where we're like syncing stuff up. So apparently there's more going on.
To be fair, Kojima was straight up like, I encourage you guys to go ape shit with analysis, which is very exciting. I
That
really
is.
appreciate the support. Because again, lots of questions. Since you talked about, you know, the chase with BB, like, or now
Yeah.
Luis with her little like embroidered bib. Like, why is Fragile's body young? Like the sort of reaction, I like to call it like almost reactionary to the Stranding ending, you know, with things like, should we have connected? The whole drawbridge symbolism where, you know, bridges can be built, but they can also be taken back if needed. I think there was also, I'm going to fuck up this quote, but something like, you know, we can leverage or use both a stick and a rope or something like that.
Yeah.
So lots of interesting concepts, and it's I'm hoping that it answers like some of the like lingering questions that I personally had with Death Stranding. But it seems like it seems both Kojima's directly addressing those, but I don't know to what extent they're going to be able to answer them, because he admitted himself he had to change the story because he didn't want to be a prophet. I don't want to use prophet. Prophet's a bad word, but he didn't want to
How
predict.
bad was it gonna get?
Yeah, like,
That was
what
funny.
happened, man? And then
That
when
was
you think
funny he
about like in
addressed
the
that.
past, like yeah, and then like when you think about what he has quote unquote predicted, like the proliferation of and the siloing of social media, a massive pandemic in some ways, and you can cut this out if it's too much, 9/11, like how worse could it be, man? Like
He's scared of his own mind.
So now he just made up some shit that like definitely like can't happen. He's just gonna go super
Yeah.
mystical with it too.
It's like, Hideo, write something nice, please. We need it.
Yeah.
it's gonna be like an actual walking simulator where only good things happen as you walk down the street.
Yeah. Every time I rewatch the new DS2 trailer, though, I am realizing stuff that I'm. It's not really like any questions from the first game are being answered. It's like there's just more new questions, and I didn't even think about it until you just said it, Days, that you see Fragile in like a tank top, and her body isn't aged by timefall like it was in the first game. I didn't even notice that until you just mentioned that.
Yeah.
So much to like dissect. I mean, you could go through, and I'm sure that the rabid fan base is like freeze framing and looking at every little clip. I've just kind of like watched it about 2 or 3 times and enjoyed it, and now I'm gonna, I think, wait for the next the next official trailer to drop.
I'm just curious how long it's going to be till the game comes out. I mean, at this point, Kojima Productions is coming up on their 7th anniversary, the new version of the studio. I mean, something like that.
Really?
Yeah, I think they just celebrated 7 years actually.
Yeah. So at the rate we're going, assuming the game comes out as soon as next year, that's one game every 4 years, roughly.
That's pretty good.
Well, the fact that he's also working on multiple projects right now, like this isn't
That's
the only
true.
thing he's got going.
That's true. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of that early work was just sort of setting up the studio and sort of figuring out their workflow and,
Yeah.
and
Making a cool lobby.
yeah.
Liminal spaces, folks. Liminal spaces.
Yeah.
But so that's a good point, Nitroid, that, the last 2 games that Kojima has done, he's almost started from fresh, right? You have MGS5, where they took those resources to make the Fox engine, and then, he had to start fresh with building Kojima Productions for Death Stranding. So it'll be really interesting to see, from like a process perspective, like how he handles this release now that he doesn't like have to start all over.
Yeah.
They have a game engine. They have some assets. Yeah.
I think I'm more excited for Death Stranding 2 than I was for Death Stranding 1. I'm really excited to see how he takes the criticisms of the first game and improves on it.
Yeah.
Not to bring it back to brain structure again, but he did say he's like, it's kind of hard to like come up with like a game system within like one IP. Like when you're starting out, you kind of have to kind of come out with all these different, identifying aspects of like what makes this like this specific game. And so with like this strand type gameplay, he's kind of like throwing in his first batch of ingredients. But like, we've seen with Metal Gear out, it's just like a lot of like improved upon things. So I think with this one, he'll take this first batch and hopefully, just remix it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense for him to stick with Decima, given that they've already sort of become acclimated to the engine. They built the previous game in it, so they've got all this. They've got all this work already, and they've invested so much in Decima. But I still kind of wonder, like, why they went that route instead of, going the route of, say, Unreal Engine that a lot of other developers do.
That is interesting. Yeah.
I always chalked it up to like a partnership agreement thing because they were going under Sony, and they're like, "Here, let Gorilla help you get acclimated with shit."
Yeah.
Hey, here's our Decima engine. This is all in my head. I don't know if this is true.
It is a beautiful engine though. Like I feel like it could compete right up there with Unreal 5. Like even though it is older at this point, but it's a pretty like just seeing the stuff from Horizon Forbidden Wilds, or what's the sequel called? I think that was it.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Forbidden
Anyway,
West.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's that's right.
There you go.
That game engine is very, very high tech and pretty. I think you're right though that it has something to do with him being kind of nested under Sony for this game.
It for sure looks amazing. And I think it's kind of a testament to how art direction can matter more than the technology in a lot of
Absolutely.
ways. Because I've seen a lot of Unreal Engine games that just are deep in the uncanny valley, but Death Stranding, for the most part, doesn't really have that problem.
Yeah, especially with this new trailer, it's like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
we saw Old Reedus and it was like,
Old
okay,
Reedus.
damn. Like,
I loved that Photoshop on Twitter. That was like, you could see old Reedus, the MGS4 health bar with old Reedus and his psych going down. It's so good.
there's definitely some weird timefall shit going on in this game. I don't know. It definitely seems like a sequel, like in the timeline of things, but there's
For sure.
some reversing of time going on. I don't know.
And what seems like it sounds like there's a Troy Baker song being sung throughout the
Mhm.
trailer. I don't know if that
Yeah.
is his voice. It definitely
It is.
sounds like
for
him.
sure, yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is.
It's been
Yeah.
stuck in my head all fucking week. Yeah.
Well, it credits him at one point.
Right. Because a part of the lyrics
Doesn't
too,
it credit him at one point?
they go, yeah, he is credited in that trailer.
It's
but-
BB's song.
Yeah, I mean, they credit him
Oh,
for
okay.
the song. Yeah.
Yeah, it said BB's song, performed by Troy Baker right there on that.
Oh,
little-
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because
What?
it goes to like almost talking dialogue where he's like, talking to BB some of those lyrics, and it's like,
Yeah, he's being
yo,
creepy.
how is Higgs going to play a role in this? Because he was kind of, it's Yeah, I'm very excited. So many more questions are being asked than
know.
answered, though.
I'm just like so mad that he's still around, and like I got so mad when I heard him sing BB's theme. It felt violating, and that's when I know
Yeah.
Kojima did something right. And then him and like I'm presuming that was him in that like just body horror like Amelie / Bridget skin suit thing.
Oh, with his guts moving around.
with an
with the
electric
fucking
guitar.
electric guitar. God bless Kojima, Jesus.
One thing I really loved about that is like he hits that like dissonant ass chord, and then like the red exclamation points come up for a quick second, then they turn into like this other new weird symbol that we haven't seen before, and it's just like I don't know, just he loves his fucking nods. Like
He does.
He's real quick with it.
Launch a million conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's that's kind of the thing. I made a tweet and a post about it, just saying like, oh, here's the red exclamation marks, and it was like, it's not Metal Gear. And I'm like, I'm not saying it's fucking Metal Gear. I'm just saying he did the red exclamation mark as a nod. That's it. That's it.
But that's a positive thing, though. Take it as a
Yeah,
positive
that's what
that
I'm saying,
people
like,
are drifting into this mindset less and are starting to understand that, believe it or not, some artists will revisit their previous work.
I mean, that's all he's ever done.
Yeah, and echo things they've done in the past, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean anything deeper than that.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it with the cardboard box, in the last Death Stranding with the director's cut.
Oh god, that, yeah.
But I mean, he got pretty blatant
He's
with
paying
the
homage.
Yeah, exactly. But with the whole God, what is it called? That DHV ship that they've got, the drawbridge ship, where it pretty much just looks exactly like Metal Gear Rex of.
Like the front frame looks like Metal Gear X.
Yeah.
That was a big moment.
The crane looks exactly like the fucking rail gun. It's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
But I love it.
When I saw it, I shouted out. I went, "Oh my god, it's got a railgun!" Wait a minute, no, that's a crane.
Yeah.
Because they panned perfectly, where you see the long arm coming out, and then at the very end of the scene, you see there's a hook on the end. Yeah,
See, and
they
that's-
saved the hook on the end for the last.
It makes you wonder, right? Is like, did they want you to have like, it's like that Red Letter Media quote. You may have not realized it, but your brain did. Like, is that the type of effect that Kojima's trying to have on us right now? with
Oh,
these callbacks?
absolutely. I mean,
Totally.
after everything he's said about how people who want more Metal Gear sequels should, kind of grow up, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to start messing with the audience like that and intentionally be like, is it? Nah, it's not.
I mean, even those little like turret guns, I think it's called someone in the comments said it was called a C-RAM. Like, it's like these little counter rocket things, but it looks like the AI pod, but that's just Yoji Shinkawa just doing that thing that he does. And just, it's like putting those little, God, what are those little vents in the, like, Snake's gear? You know what I'm talking about? They're like everywhere. And it's like at his thigh or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Those ports or whatever.
Izubuchi holes.
Yes.
But yeah, those have been around for freaking ever in anime and manga, and it's just these little vent holes that Yutaka Izubuchi would put in a lot of his designs, specifically mechs, and they've just been used in pretty much everything since. Like they mostly you see them in like Gundam and Patlabor, but then they're everywhere.
Yeah, even sneaking suits.
Indeed.
I didn't know what they were called, so I'm glad I learned something this year.
Speaking of things you got to learn, I'm so glad you're on, because I got to tell you, I had such a laugh the other day at the Metal Gear Wiki. Did you know that the bit you guys did for Raiden's unemployment manager?
Oh, yeah. That's an old one, yes.
Derek has an entry on the Metal Gear Wiki as a Metal Gear character.
This is unemployment officer.
Yeah.
It says unemployment. I would have thought, there was he played the lovable character Psycho Turkey, which Hideo said that he very much enjoyed, and I think he alluded, I think he was joking with us, but that he wanted to put him into a game. But that was for a different ad. So Derek's been entered into the wiki as the unemployment officer. That's great.
As Raiden's unemployment manager. Yeah, I'm going to post it in the chat.
Gotta love wikis being able to be edited by anybody.
And they took it very seriously.
Fabulous. I mean, Hideo's probably been the easiest of all of the like game developer celebrities we get to put in our videos over the years. It's always a pleasure, and I think he gets our set of or he gets our sensibility and our comic timing
Yeah.
where other game developers maybe don't. Some people will just go along with it, you know, like here, Gabe Newell, throw this Beatles wig on. You're in the Beatles with us. Okay.
I just pictured Kojima sitting with y'all during the Cyberbully stream and just watching and taking notes. Like, saw Cyberbully.
He gets it. He just kind of like vibes with our humor. So I think that's why we've gone back and worked with him so many times. But I mean, I got nothing but great things to say. And like his staff is always easy in setting that up for us. But yeah, at this point, we haven't seen him for a while. And now that Death Stranding 2's here, I'm thinking I gotta dust off that old costume. Well, we'll see. We didn't see it in the new trailer, so we might be making a whole new thing.
I'm gonna see one of you guys on some like motorized unicycle thing, just like all in
God.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Something definitely now that Louise has grown up, we're gonna have to like step up our game with our acting department.
Dude, Rocco with all that shit on his back, just like falling over. Yo, that was so perfect. Like I love that. I love that video so much.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of putting that costume together. That's kind of like where I come in with the crew is like designing and putting all that shit together.
Yeah, he looks so good. Like, yeah, you did a great job with that, man. Like,
oh, thank you. I always think of myself as a cosplayer. I just don't wear my own costumes.
that's what's up. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, lots of new stuff to look at though in this new trailer. I hope we do make a video for this because it's always fun to make a sketch based on something that I'm actually familiar with or I'm playing. I mean, it's great. Like we just did a Castlevania video. It's like, oh, I'm so familiar with Castlevania. Like,
Yeah, we were actually just about to bring that up. That
Oh,
Lost
really?
of Faith
Okay, hell
video
yeah.
with Derek. I actually, I watched it today. This is really fucking funny. Rocco makes a perfect Dracula.
Dracula, come back to bed.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up! We got a home invasion or some shit. Religious nut at the door.
reprising his role. Yeah, he is our resident Count Dracula. He
Yeah.
looks so good in that long straight hair. I love that wig on him.
Yeah, and Derek is Belmont's just always a good time. That one, God, what was that? 12 years ago? That original video from that.
When Lords of Shadow was like out. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
probably that long ago.
So, did you make that set, or was that part of something that was already established, or in the Lost of Faith video?
Yeah, in the Lost of Faith video, we came up with the concept, and then they hit me like with maybe about a week to build the castle and then the miniature for the kind of opening shot. And that was a lot of fun. We have like a pretty big stage inside of our studio that we use for all kinds of stuff. I mean, next week here, we're going to be filming our Hanukkah cast on it. So there's going to be a lot of food flying around. And it's always my job to kind of like clean up, build up, or like kind of make presentable our stage area. And that week to build was pretty tight, but I had a blast doing it because I just knew like the scope and the scale of this is going to be like really big for something that we shot inside our soundstage. We hadn't really built something that it was about, I don't know, about 16 feet tall and maybe like 25 feet across. It took the whole stage because we really wanted to portray it as being kind of a big set piece. Since the pun and the joke is very not simplistic, but the surrounding environment and the costumes, I really wanted to like nail that you saw it and you went like, oh, that's Castlevania, like very obviously.
Yeah.
Especially with the miniature. And that was, I put like a week into the set on the stage, and then I put maybe 3 days here at the studio to try to build that little miniature up. And that's just like stuff that was around. It's parts of other costume pieces and other, like, I think there's 2 broken hair dryers that make up different spires.
That's
on
what that
Dracula's
is. It's a
castle.
hair dryer. I'm looking at
Yeah.
the picture of it right now.
Yeah, and those hair dryers were the handles for Shinji in the Ava Unit 1 cockpit. So it's like I like to recycle and reuse. Basically, like I don't want to spend any money
Dude,
on
that's
this shit. So
amazing. Oh,
those
man.
are the cockpit handle hair dryers that are now repurposed into Dracula's castle.
That's fucking awesome.
And then that's where kind of my specialty comes in with the boys is like, okay, you got a week to make this. Here you go. All right.
It turned out really good, man.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, looking forward to what's next. And crossing my fingers that we get to play DS2 in 2023. It is interesting they didn't date it.
Yeah.
It's probably smart.
Yeah, it kind of holds them at like hostage to like put it out then, then
Yeah.
if they put out the video like, hey guys, it's gonna actually be a year from now. Everybody's like, oh, what the fuck? Like everybody gets all butthurt now. It sucks.
We should get a pool going.
Take bets.
Are we thinking 2023, like end of 2023?
I'd put money on early 2024.
Yeah, Q1 2024.
Early 2024. They do have some of the assets and stuff already, but it's modern games, man. The time it takes.
It's been like 3 years since Death Stranding 1, so
True, but they're working on two things in parallel
Yeah.
that we know of.
True.
hopefully
Yeah.
they take their time with it. I'd rather play it later and it'd be better than them rush it out and it'd be shit.
I'm with you.
There's been a lot of stuff I've been playing lately where I'm like, oh man, they needed to spend more time on this. This is bad. The state of gaming is pretty bad with new games right now. I just beat the new Call of Duty, and I'm like, this seems to be like the last game on PlayStation 4 that my PS4 can handle, because there was just all this like screen tearing and it's the regular PS4, not
Oh
a Pro.
no.
But it's
Yeah.
just like it just looked like shit, man. I was like, this looks bad. Like there were certain parts of it looked good, but just in the gameplay, there was just a lot of moments where it was just glitching out and showing like lens flares where they shouldn't be, like through walls and stuff. I was just like, what's going on?
That's kind of funny, because weren't you saying that like you played Cyberpunk on a base PS4 and had like no issues?
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on, but I think this is just more like the sign of like, hey, this is really pushing it.
I think that might be more of a Call of Duty thing. Didn't they like fire all their testers? not
I'm
that long
sure,
ago?
yeah. Like it didn't seem too great.
They rushed it.
Like they're horrible at optimizing games.
Activision Blizzard fucking up their QA.
I know,
No way. Holy
unbelievable.
shit.
Crazy talk.
Unbelievable.
Who would have thought?
But yeah, I mean, I've been a Call of Duty player for years, and they've never got their games optimized on release.
Yeah, I figured it could maybe get a little optimized more, but just for like the PS4 base version, they probably like, just like, whatever.
Yeah.
It probably looks better on PC for sure.
Okay. I've had this in the back of my head this whole time because this was the bulk of our lost episode. I need to get it off my chest, and it's actually kind of a legitimate question. So we're going to go back into some of your old Mega 64 content, particularly when you had that interview with Tommy Tallarico at his house. First
Right.
of all, what was that house like? Holy fucking shit. And two, do you ever do like I think I'm kind of addressing the elephant in the room here, but was there any like pickup of like that experience? Have people been asking you about that ever since the Roblox video? And for people who don't know what we're talking about, because we have a whole lost episode of this, there's a video
Right.
that came out about the origins of the Roblox oof video, or the Roblox oof. And me and Apache got obsessed with it. And then we got Fingers and Nitroid like kind of obsessed with it. It became a majority of our original episode 80. And then now like we're like, oh shit, we got Garrett. Should we ask him about the house? Like,
Yeah, I'm like, are we gonna be okay
Oh,
to
I
ask
thought-
him about Tommy?
and like I'm gonna take one for the fucking team. And if we're
I
afraid
thought
of
you-
posting this, then we can just cut it out and post.
I thought you feared lawsuit from Tommy, and that's why the last episode is the now lost episode.
Oh no, it was just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. No, I could totally talk about the H Bomber guy video. It came out, and I someone told me about it too. I mean, it was all over. I guess he's got a very popular YouTube channel,
Mhm.
which I went back and watched other stuff, and he's an equal opportunity investigator, because he trashed the anime Ruby, which I happen to be a voice actor in.
No.
So I was not left off the chopping block, but he's out there. He's showing his side of things. So after I saw the one about the Roblox oof, I went back and watched the one about Ruby, and I was like, you know what? Homie's got a lot of valid criticism, man. I mean, we were all learning how to do stuff that first season. But back to like Tommy and Tommy's house. Like, all I'll say is like Tommy Talarico has been such a like cool and welcoming person in the games industry when Mega64 was starting, when we really didn't have anyone giving us any advice or giving us any opportunities to do things like show interstitial videos at the GDC, the Game Developers Conference that we used to do every year. I believe he might directly be one of the people who pitched our stuff to them. And then we worked for the next like 10 years making content for that award show in San Francisco.
Whoa.
Also, he starred in several videos that we produced, and we even made a DVD release of the Gamer Wars that are all filmed in that house, the house that
Holy
that
shit.
is featured. It's featured heavily in the oof explanation video. Tommy's house is wild. It is absolutely everything you see in those videos. And I've been in that thing like a dozen times and hung out, and he's hosted awesome barbecues for a lot of game industry people and students that he would always have come and kind of get to know other industry veterans, and we would be there getting to know other industry people. It's a wild house.
Did y'all eat in the Egypt room?
I have eaten in the very gaudy Egypt room.
That's awesome.
We've cooked burgers in the backyard. Now he's a vegan, so of course he didn't have any burgers, but Tommy's like an eccentric guy, but he's always been super nice and like super influential in like I think our rise in the early years of Mega64. Now I won't speak for any of the other guys, but like I was kind of like really sad when I watched the H Bomber guy video.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is there's this like dichotomy
It was a bummer.
between like my childhood
Yeah.
and like watching Electric Playground and like all the stuff that I'm hearing now. Like, it makes you kind of question,
Because Tommy's been nothing but super nice to us.
It really was like a letdown.
Yeah, it's
I just remember him as like the super eccentric guy on like Electric Playground.
It's so much like when we were hanging out with Tommy, when we're chilling with him and filming like the 3 Gamer Wars videos that we've done over the years, like we're in his house just with him, coming up with concepts and shooting this stuff on the fly like all day. I mean, these were like long 8-9 hour days most of the time. And you really get to know a guy and you're hanging out, and it's like, yeah, Tommy has a kind of a braggadocious nature to him. And we always came away with that in our relationships, like, yeah, Tommy, who knows if that's whatever, but
kind of that, just like he's a little bit of a bullshitter, but it's like, it's fine. Like that's just part of his thing.
Fine.
But it's like there's no consequence.
It makes him feel kind of like valid, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is the guy that kind of exaggerates the truth a little bit, but it's not hurting anybody, so fuck it. Everybody knows that guy. Like, yeah, I know what you mean.
Right, and it's harmless, and but we hadn't really worked and seen, I haven't seen Tommy in years, and it seems like in the last few years, that's when maybe like some of the braggadocious claims got a little out of, because like I had heard about a few of the Guinness Book of World Records holdings that he had, but I've also always known, well, Guinness is a pay-to-play format.
Yeah, Guinness. I learned right before I watched the video, before H Bomber explained it, was that Guinness is from Guinness the beer, and the idea is that they have these books at these bars to facilitate conversations so you can drink more Guinness. So that was weirdly enough already kind of like invalidated, like before then.
In hindsight, it is very, very funny that Metal Gear has been awarded several Guinness records.
Yeah, Kojima definitely reached out and was like, hey, about that long cutscene, we're going to have to get that logged out.
So someone at Konami had to pay for that, and if it gives you like leverage in marketing your next project, because you can impress investors with Guinness World Records, Is there a problem with
That's
that? I don't think
that's
so.
kind of where I kind of see it with that and kind of with Gang, because it's like you can say like
Yeah.
award-winning soundtrack or something like that. Which is funny because
Yeah.
Kojima, speaking of Kojima, there's a picture of Kojima that he tweeted, or somebody tweeted of Kojima, where he's like in front of a bunch of Gang awards, and we put it on the group
I
chat,
saw
like,
that.
That's Gang! That's Gang!
It comes full circle. God damn it.
Oh no, 3 of them say 2014 on them. It's the same award. But yeah, like we're curious, like where does this go? Like do we I would love to get Tommy involved in making another Gamer Wars video. It's been a couple years. He's always wanted to do it. I know he's got his hands full right now, but when the dust settles, I think maybe you haven't seen the last of Tommy Tallarico.
Yeah, I think Tommy's coming back for sure, 100%. If there's ever a guy that's gonna,
Yeah.
This might knock him down for a little bit, but he'll just come back and. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, there was the whole like Amico thing that happened this year.
I was gonna say, I think the thing, like Garrett, you had mentioned, like there must have been some factor that kind of shifted the paradigm a bit, and I think Amico, that was kind of the thing, the pressure to have that ROI.
Yeah. I can't imagine taking off a project that massive. I mean, all the stuff that he went and did before that was successful. I mean, I've been to like several Video Games Live shows and they were fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They were rad concerts. You know, maybe he shouldn't have written that it was the biggest attended venue in, you know, what was it, China of that year? And,
Yeah.
but there was no need to embellish stuff because it was still like the largest thing of its kind, doing like across franchises and consoles. It was all of video games encompassed into a symphonic concert. Like now, you know, that's already a huge undertaking that he pulled off swimmingly, and then to go to like, okay, I'm going to be the CEO of a company. We're going to put a new console out. Tommy, since I've known him, has been obsessed with old video game stuff because it's what he grew up with. And I've been in his living room playing the original Intellivision, and like, he's got one of Ralph Bayer's brown boxes, and he's got like old clicky, like gamey, like, these things are like relics almost now, you know? There's only several in existence, and he has these. So it seemed like such a perfect fit. Like, oh my God, he basically bought Intellivision, and now he's going to do with it what he wants to. Like, this could be really interesting. Now, I haven't really caught up and followed it throughout its troubles of being, you know, crowdfunded. And the H-Bomber Guy video certainly had like all kinds of you know, I don't know what's true and what's not. And this is where like, yo, I'm out of it as far like Tommy's like a friend, and like I hope the Intellivision thing works out, but I feel like, God, that's a lot of weight on your shoulder.
I mean, just developing a console, just developing such an advanced, complex product in general is just, like you said, so much weight on your shoulders.
I'm just blown away that he has a brown box.
Yeah. I was blown away. I got to fucking touch it. Like, you
Jeez.
sure I can hold it? Oh my God.
That's dope.
Got those things
There's
in
only
museums.
like, what, 4 of those? or
Yeah, not a
something?
lot. Yeah, they've got one in the American Natural History Museum, and that's the only one I know where one of them is. So that's kind of insane.
But for real, like as an industry figure, like Tommy's been collecting and like involved in this shit since the early 90s. And has maintained.
I was just gonna say, I always looked at him as like a John Romero type, but for music.
Yes.
Like there's this sort of this like attitude in the 90s and early 2000s of being like this sort of rock star persona. You know, and I almost kind of put it in the same vibes as us trying to like in the 2000s, mid 2000s, trying to get video games accepted as a medium of art. Well, in the 90s, we sort of had this concept evolving of like developers and creators in the industry being like rock stars. And I feel like Tommy was like a byproduct of that.
Yeah, he's like the proto for like your Cliff Bleszinski, you know? The rock star game developer. It's like you look at Tommy, he's the blueprint.
I think it's true what you said before. Like, he doesn't need to tell tall tales. What the things he's actually done are pretty fucking cool already. Like, you don't need to
totally
make stuff up. Just say what you've actually done. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out. I'm curious if there will be more, or what the eventual fate of Intellivision will be. I'll be waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, you hear these, stories about people. Sometimes you'll watch a 2-hour documentary that only has negative things to say about someone, and then you'll hear someone go, "Well, shit, he never did anything wrong to me." It's like, well, shit. Like,
Exactly.
I've had that exact thing.
Well, that's the internet.
Yeah, I've had that exact thing with so many friends and people before, where it's just like, well, damn, dude, he never did anything wrong with me, but that sucks to hear about
Right.
that. Like,
Well, hey,
So-
do you remember a few months ago with Bayonetta's voice actress was
Oh, yeah.
calling for the outright like boycott of Bayonetta
Mhm.
3, and people kind of jumped onto her side and were like, yeah,
including us, man. We all, kind of rode that first emotional wave of it. Like,
exactly.
except Nitroid.
And we were sitting there like, hey, we worked with Hideki Kamiya and Platinum, and they were the kindest. And I mean, I already said this about Hideo, but
Yeah.
Kamiya, I will say, takes second place as being like so open to our suggestions, so cool with letting the guys film inside the Platinum studio. And then when he was in the US, Kamiya and 2 other Platinum employees like came onto our stage and did our panel at PAX East for this stupid bit that was like an extension of that video that we made where Kamiya
Oh,
blocks
yeah.
you. Like he has such a good sense of humor that he let us make a whole sketch about him blocking people on Twitter. And then to hear, the voice actresses kind of issues, like they were valid issues, but she was also calling for the boycott and saying that Platinum and Kamiya were kind of like practicing bad business. And we're sitting there going like, man, we had a great time. We were paid well and on time and everything was fine. I don't even think that was a paid video or whatever, but everything that they were saying in that first week was like, we've had the opposite experience working
Yeah.
with Platinum Studios. And then it all came out about 2 weeks later that like, she was kind of stretching the truth about how she was offered money and everything else. So I think the truth always comes to
Yeah.
light. So yeah, I'm happy to just tell you like, Mr. Talarico, as I say, Mr. Talarico, because I got respect for my homie. He's been nothing but great friends and allies with Mega64 over the years.
That's good to hear.
But I'm curious to see where this goes.
I was just thinking about how I've grown as a person from this conversation. Honestly, it was very, very enriching, to be honest.
I'm glad I could lend some.
It's not an awkward silence. It's a moment to reflect.
Right. We're just thinking about video games.
I'm just thinking about how I can't remember if it was you, Garrett, or Days that made the comment about how these old games, and the musicians who worked on them were kind of like rock stars, and all I can think of is like a lot of those older PC games genuinely had rock stars making music for them. I mean, you had like Skinny Puppy and Typo Negative and 9 Inch Nails doing music for like
Yes.
Descent and Quake
Shit,
and all
even
these
David
things.
Bowie was doing music for David Cage.
Right?
Like,
Fuck
Like
yeah, I love
genuine
Yeah.
rock stars doing this stuff, and like that formed a lot of my taste in music over the years.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Those early PC games, it's funny because it's all the industrial bands that I love.
Yeah,
Like Nine Inch
exactly.
Nails and Skinny Puppy, and like that being the kind of like archetype for like, okay, this niche PC game thing, we're going to use this niche electronic music.
Right? Like Descent got me into Typo Negative, and like I've never looked back.
That was one thing that drew me to Tommy. I remember hearing back in the day that piece of trivia that like he didn't really do a lot of stuff with like as far as like reading sheet music or knowing a lot about music theory. He just kind of like wrote shit and just like jammed out, and like whatever came out was just kind of by ear.
Right.
So that was one part like as a musician that kind of like watching that whole H Bomber guy video I was like, oh, like I used to look up to this guy. I was kind of like, all right, cool. You don't need all that music theory and all that bullshit. You can just write stuff and
I mean,
you know.
and to that point, like, even in a scenario where like, okay, let's just say like, all these transgressions are completely true. Like it still doesn't, at the end of the day, doesn't necessarily diminish his talent. Like he still did like the Earthworm Jim soundtrack. He still,
Oh yeah.
had all these accomplishments in the 2000s. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting situation altogether.
Yeah, it definitely is.
is it okay if I bring back up the Death Stranding 2 trailer? Like, we keep jumping around.
Yeah, sure.
No, it's cool. Go for it.
I'm good to jump around. Yeah.
That is why we're here.
So yeah, like, what could he have possibly? So with the whole thing about like, I'm trying not to predict the future. Was this something that like he wrote it, already predicted it, and was like, "Fuck, I need to go back to the drawing board," or what? Was it more like, okay, I need to write nice things now?
Yeah, that does stick out in my head where him and Jeff were talking afterwards, and he said that he doesn't want to forecast too many more natural pandemic and
I'm wondering like the process of it
world
all.
destroying disaster. Yeah, I mean, is that just tongue in cheek or is it real?
The drawbridge side of things makes me think he's like talking about like isolationism and stuff like that, or just like, there's gonna be like multiple countries in this maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's exactly what the theme here is.
Ah,
I mean, the name of the ship is Magellan, so
Yeah. I mean, that's
oh, interesting.
there's some globetrotting going on. I mean, look, think of it like this, and I want to hear him talk about this someday. I hope someday he at least talks about it a little bit. But we've talked about it before. But when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, it wasn't really received all that well. And fast forward to today, and you're hard pressed to find anybody who doesn't think that game is not only amazing but downright prophetic.
Right.
So what must that be like for him? What has his experience been watching that transition from what were you doing with this sequel to, oh my God, you predicted the future. And now it's sort of echoing again with the pandemic. Like on a personal level, I wonder how he feels about all that.
What do you mean? Does he look at himself in the mirror and think, I am Nostradamus? Or do you think it's kind of like...
Quasimodo predicted all this.
Who did what?
All these problems, the Middle East, the end of the world.
Nostradamus. Quasimodo's the hunchback of Notre Dame.
All right.
Right. Probably not, but you've got to think that, like, the fact that he's writing all of this fiction that sort of had its thumb on the pulse of where things were going, it's gotta hit different,
Yeah, totally. I wonder if he's like steadfast in his resolve of like, they might not like it at first, but once they really see what I was going for and what I was doing, I feel like maybe he's more comfortable in breaking tradition. Like everyone kind of shit on Death Stranding. I'll use the term normies again, but like when Death Stranding came out, it's like, oh, walking sim. Oh, I don't want to play that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the worst
And it's
criticism.
like,
yeah.
so much more and so much deeper when you start learning about the story and the lore. For me, his games are so interesting. I mean, I love the mecha design that Shinkawa kind of lends, but also the lore is so out there and bonkers, and I'm here for it. So, I think maybe now he's had a couple of those games where it's like kind of got panned in the beginning, but turned out to be a like classic, I think maybe he's a little more comfortable in his skin going like, they might not get it at first, but I'm not going to let that bother me.
It's like that Back to the Future
Back to the
meme.
Future, yeah, I was thinking that.
Yes.
Guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But you kids are gonna love it.
It's funny, he mentions this specifically on the latest Brain Structure. He talks about how like I think he says something like it takes 3 to 5 years for a game to sort of get the proper reception and to really sort of I think how Jeff put it was like marinate was the word he used, which I think is kind of right. It's got to take some time for everybody to sort of
that word in that context.
And I definitely think that's going to be the case for the Phantom Pain. Might take a little longer, but give it time.
I don't think the Phantom Pain is going to be as revered as 2 was in the long run, but I do think it will be. History will favor it a lot more than it was in release.
Yeah. People forgot about Survive already, and I think they're getting nostalgia wave of like, oh yeah, the opening to Phantom Pain. Fuck, I want to play that again. And they pop it back in. I think that's what it is. It's like that 3, 4, 5 year mark where it's got its game of the year release and you go back to it a second time. That's where you really go like, oh fuck, this was good. This was so good.
I will say, after seeing the DS2 trailer, it has made me like want to go back to like I've been saying like I'm not gonna play Death Stranding again, but I'm looking at that director's cut now. Like, all right, I might have to go back, and I have a PS5 controller that I like never used.
Plug that PS5 controller into
I was gonna say, I'm gonna
fresh
see what
new laptop.
this DualSense is all about. Yep.
I'm the same way.
So
I like the racing.
See, I haven't done any of the director's cut missions. I haven't done any of the Cyberpunk add-ons. Like, I beat the game on PS4 and I put it down. And I was kind of waiting. And now that the hype is kind of here again, although we might have to wait 2 years for the game, I'm definitely in the same mode fingers where I'm like, ooh, I never played my director's cut stuff.
Yeah.
I paid the $5 to put it on PS5 and get the free update or whatever. It was $5, but I have never even started it up. Like, I think maybe now's the time.
This is where what Apache says kind of resonates with me, because looking at all of the things they tried to add into the director's cut, there's a lot of creative ideas there with like the racing and the VR missions and the stealth missions and all the new equipment and like he said, the second time around, what are they going to do? I know I keep coming back to the latest Brain Structure episode, but he was saying like he was thinking of what they could do in a sequel while they were developing the first one, and I mean like that's kind of what he's always done. But it's again something we've said before, but this team sort of has a tendency to really nail it the second time around with an idea.
Absolutely.
Whether it's Metal Gear Solid 2 or Metal Gear Online 2 or Zone of the Enders 2 or Peace Walker compared to Portable Ops, it's always that second time around when they've done their experiment and they're like, okay, now we get the mistakes. Now we know how to make it better. Now we can really see where we can take this. I like a really great example that I wish more people would give a chance is Metal Gear Acid 2. The first game is just ridiculously confusing, but the second one is incredible. But nobody bought it because they were kind of put off by the first one, and they missed something that was just just amazing. From start to finish. And so with Death Stranding 2, I think a lot of the gripes that people have are not going to be an issue. Really curious.
He's never going to do another game and it'll just be more of the same thing. There's no way.
Yeah,
exactly.
That would be my biggest prediction. I definitely want to get it on record. I bet Death Stranding 2 is insanely good, even if you didn't like the first one. This is my guess. If I could put a bet on it, I would. That this game's really going to bang.
0 walking.
Hey,
it's a running simulator.
The best part about that is people fucked around and said, oh, it's a walking simulator. But you know what? In some ways it is. Like the way that the detail that they put in the walking is like we said, that term Gran Turismo level.
It's the
like,
Gran Turismo of walking.
It's the Gran Turismo of walking. And I mean that in like the best way possible.
Yeah.
Customize your boots.
I mean, what's the joke? It's like if you threw $100 million at QWOP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a great time.
Yeah, I love that game.
After a few hours, you start developing vehicles, and then you don't have to walk in that game. And once the director's cut stuff came out, there was like,
oh my God,
more and more improvements to kind of speed up what people thought. So I almost think like with the director's cut improvements, he's already refining the problems the first launch game had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a new game plus or like a second playthrough, like you'll have just these options that are like, oh, good, I can just springboard out of here or pogo stick out of here or whatever they added to it. I didn't see. Yeah.
I'm totally with you, Apache. Like this cannot be, he never makes the same game again. And it will have all the quality of life improvements that you wanted from the first one. And if you're a new player, you're going to be stoked because they've had that practice to like refine it with the first game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest improvement I would like over the first one is just the boss fights to be more interesting and more going on in them. And if it's got that, I'm really excited. I mean, the story stuff already nails it. Cutscenes look amazing. I'm sure they're going to look even better for the second one.
Yeah,
I'm genuinely excited. I'm way more excited than I was about the first game.
Yeah, we need like more like trick boss fights, like something where it's like a puzzle or something weird you got to do. A lot of them were just like shoot the thing, like.
I have this weird theory about that, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about like he hasn't really had time to breathe with his games because he's always had to start fresh. And one observation I have made is that like, you know, there have been times where, you know, it does feel like his recent games, like my one major criticism with them is that bosses do feel like, you know, shoot-a-thons, like bullet sponges sometimes.
Yeah, Phantom Pain even.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is because, you know, they just haven't had the resources to develop like bosses like they used to. So I'd like to believe that, you know, with the assets and resources and time they have now to design that, you know, we'll see more of those trick bosses, like you said, Fingers.
Yeah, that's really what like made a lot of the Metal Gear bosses really like fun. It's just like, oh, this isn't a normal thing that I have to do. I gotta figure this guy out. Shit.
Yeah, how unique each of them are.
We've been chasing that Psycho Mantis high since the 90s.
I never really thought about that the bosses are kind of lacking that unique feeling in Death Stranding.
I really, really enjoyed fighting BTs. I loved scaling the buildings. I loved getting help from like the naked Rita Strands throwing me supplies and stuff, like going in with nothing and just getting it from help. But yeah, it felt very samey. Like, I don't know, it didn't have the same vibes or the same like memorability as like Psycho Mantis, for example.
Totally.
That whale thing and just like shooting grenade launchers after grenade launch had it just been like, all right, I guess that did it. I just like I had enough.
Well, the most unique boss in the game was probably Higgs, and even that sort of had the same structure as the last boss in Metal Gear Solid 4. Where it just kind of turns into Street Fighter for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Isn't it kind of meant to be?
Yeah, I was about to say, I actually kind of loved that. And I can't, I
it
really
was
hope I
fun.
can do it again. Beat his ass with a fucking PlayStation again.
Right, just throw a PS1 in his face.
That Higgs fight is that was like meant to be an easier final boss to tell a story in a way, I've heard. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I could buy that.
I always thought it was like an homage to like
to the fist fight in 4
game. It has to have two fist fight or two guys fist fighting.
Yeah.
Was it like actually difficult on very hard mode or something? Maybe like, you know, just like kind of like extreme mode for, you know, some of the fist fights and that you play in Metal Gear where it's like, oh shit, that's kind of a hard fight. Like if you played on a harder difficulty.
I never got there. I could not play.
I was gonna say I never played it on that hard difficulty, but
yeah. I beat it on normal.
Yeah.
I just think it just with the systems in the game, the fights didn't really have anywhere to go to differentiate them. I mean, even if you put the difficulty up, that's not what the issue is. It's like I have very complicated feelings about the Death Stranding,
right?
Because it's the bit I dislike the most. Like it's the bit that really puts me off the game. It is kind of it's almost feels like copy and pasted.
Yeah.
Like it. I mean, maybe they thought they would get the differences from the environments, but you never really felt it.
It was really cool how they executed this, and like if you looked at it as a system, it was like, oh, okay, it just happens here in this one part of the map, so that's why they can do it. But the whole void out system, like if you fucked up in a boss fight and lose, and it's just like, oh, okay, well here's this big crater right here now that you can't go back in now, and the world map has changed. It was like that was really cool.
I'm gonna be frank, I saved scum for those, but I thought it was cool nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I didn't get very many void outs on my first gameplay, or on my first playthrough.
I had him trip over one small rock one time, and he just like fell over, and then the thing ate him, and I was like, oh, damn it, and then it just happened, and I was like, well, we'll just keep going.
I didn't get one.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And I'm not good at games. I just didn't get one.
I got one, and then I saved scummed.
I think I have the clip. Like, if you see him fall over this rock, it's so pathetic. It's like this small little rock that trips him up, and then he just goes like, oh, and just falls over. And then this thing that little, like, this first little dolphin guy just comes up and just goes, and skeets him up. I was like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, void outs in the first game, now that I'm remembering, were such a looming crisis. Like, oh my god, I can't let this happen. And then I went through, and I'm with you, Nitroid. I did not get one, and I'm not great at games. I played on normal, but I somehow avoided all void outs. And it wasn't till watching friends play, like, holy shit, it makes a crater there if you. Oh my god. And the Strand gameplay, I don't think was implemented that well. Like, I didn't die and I didn't get to float underwater, so I didn't get a lot of the items that you get when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully in this new game, that is like more of a thing. I don't know how you do that if someone is not dying and doesn't get that type of gameplay. Like, I wonder if they can procedurally cause the character to die on purpose in certain areas. And I think that happens once, like in the beginning of the game, but then it never really happened for me again in Death Stranding.
I would kind of like to see them simplify the UI a bit.
Yeah.
Which is not to say the UI is complicated necessarily. It's just...
It was a lot. Like, you had to deal with a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah. Yeah. It's not
Yeah.
that it's difficult. It's just that it's really tedious and time consuming, and there's so much going on. There's like a million things, and it's not hard to get your head around. It's just there's so much of it. So if they could like whittle that down to about half, you know?
Yep. Distill it down to the stuff that worked well, the stuff that the fan base liked, and then push that forward into a new way.
It's like, if it's more than Snake Eater, you should probably chill out a little bit. Like,
Yeah, even Snake Eater was like, you got mired in the menus so much that it sort of broke up the pacing of the game. And that's where like the Phantom Pain really shined, is that it sort of cut all that out for the most part.
Yeah.
At least while you're playing.
I think Survive actually had one of the better UIs, like as far as like just applying shit in the field and just like being really active and not breaking up the gameplay like that. They did a good job on that.
You're gonna get a hate letter now.
I don't give a shit.
I'll actually give that. I'll actually give that to Survive as well. No, what, Fingers? I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that just needs more
Voted
time.
one
in the
on
oven, right?
Apple Podcasts. This show fucking sucks.
You've got a veritable cast of Survive.
I feel like the little kid, and then Apache like backing me up on this gameplay bit. Like, it's like, actually, no, it's a good thing right there. I'm like, fuck yeah, come on.
If we did get Matthew Mercer just to talk about Survive for like 2 hours, I'd fucking do it.
I'll defend Survive to the day I die, man. I was not ready to leave the Fox engine when Phantom Pain was over.
Me too, man.
And I was so hungry for more. I even thought about buying that soccer game they used it in. But I was just pleased that it's like, okay, like there's just more in the Fox engine. Like,
yeah,
I am fucking stoked. Yeah, I really did. But it did improve everything because there was no pausing and there was the horde always coming at you, so you had to be able to switch your weapons around and craft and everything else. Yeah, I mean, fluid, fantastic gameplay, not for Metal Gear fans.
And a curious amount of crossover with Death Stranding mechanically when you think about it.
Yo, do you remember all of the stuff people were breaking down in that game? Like, look, in the sky, there's a shadow that looks like a BT and there's strands going. Like, people were going Kojima level dissection on that, and he's not even involved.
Yeah.
That did have a lot of Death Stranding kind of like similarities.
I like that it explained the whole like wandering soldier bit too, because the whole time I was playing the Phantom Pain, I was like, what the fuck's wrong with those guys? Like, and the whole like wormhole thing, like that didn't make sense. So it was like, okay, cool. At least, okay, that's what's going on there. Good. Like, it wasn't just this open thread that was like, well, what about those wormhole Fultons that you could do? Like, what the fuck was up with that? Like,
nope, just good old fashioned brain damage.
Yeah,
it's definitely Konami like retconning all this technology that they just wanted to use in the new game. But I did appreciate they built that story around it, and and those wandering mother base guys.
Yeah, no wonder they were fucked up.
What I do think is funny is when new people get their hands on an IP and take it in a different direction, people always complain about it ruining the canon, and they're always like, why didn't they just set it somewhere else if they want to do their own story? Why did they have to mess with the continuity? And Survival literally did that, and everyone still complains. So it just doesn't fucking matter.
Retcons itself.
It literally ends that way too. Yeah, it's like, no, this didn't even happen, so don't worry about it. It's like, oh, okay.
Gamers are never happy.
Yeah.
It's just my perfect example that I always point to whenever that gets brought up to like shit on something. It's like, it doesn't matter. Even if they did that, it wouldn't matter. You would still complain.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up one thing that's worth complaining about. I saw you were playing Peace Walker a while back.
Oh yeah, for Metal Gear Summer.
Yeah, you were playing the you were going through and you had like 7%, and Rocco was just in the background, just fucking losing it, laughing at like, you were like, all right, how much more do we got? And it was like, oh, 7%. What the fuck?
7%? Bruh, does that have to get to fucking to 100 to build the second one? It's at 7% right now. That's not long enough. 7% is like
I really don't even know. Like I don't know
either.
how to make that go faster.
I know. On my game stream, the Poorly Played stream, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific on Mega64 podcast on Twitch. Every Wednesday we stream, my co-host Brian and I, but in the summer we always do Metal Gear Summer, and for Halloween we always play, like, it used to be Resident Evil, but now we've gone through all of them, so we're playing Silent Hill. So right now I'm in my playthrough of Silent Hill 3, and I have till the end of this year. I got till New Year's. But yeah, this summer we were playing Peace Walker, and I started at the beginning of summer, and I had until technically the end of summer to finish, which should be, you know, I stream once a week. I think I could do that. And I had remembered, like, kind of whipping, because it's a portable. Like, I whipped through Peace Walker.
Yeah. That end game grind, that like whole
The
end game
dark-
grind is just like, fuck.
I forgot about the Zdarnov missions, and then you know, we're sitting here in the last like 2 weeks of summer, and it's like, oh no, I have to find Zdarnov, but I don't trigger those 4 different missions until I do like 14 other side missions in between them, just grinding and grinding. I had forgotten all about that.
You gotta farm all those Zeke parts too and shit.
Oh,
It's
that's
like,
what it was. we were trying to get like AI parts or head parts for the fucking Zeke build, and then it unlocks the 4th Zdarnov hide and seek. What a pain in the ass. But we got through it. We barely did. Much to Rocco's chagrin. He gets a kick out of me under pressure when I'm trying to finish something.
I'm a little out of the loop. Is this your first time through Silent Hill 3, or wait, you've played it before, right?
No, so this playthrough of Silent Hill 3 is actually my first time. I had loved 1 and 2, but I had never played 3. So this is actually the first time I'm playing through it.
So what do you think?
And I gotta say, I think I made the right decision back then. Like, I love the first 2 games, but Silent Hill 3, there's more, but I don't think it's for the better. It's like there's so many more weapons. Yes, there's the weapon combat system is still like so hard and so slow and so janky, but now there's like twice as many weapons to not be able to swing properly or reload, or, you know, it was simplified in 1 and 2. It's like, okay, like I get the limitations here, but it created this atmosphere and everything else. And then I think like with Silent Hill 3, they're trying to expand the story out. I love that it calls back to the story, because Heather is the daughter of the first game's character, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's cool that it like calls back, and you actually go back to some places in Silent Hill 3. That was, or in Silent Hill 3, you go back to some places from the first Silent Hill game. And I thought that was a really cool thing, because I hadn't seen that franchise do that. But on the other hand, too, it's like, I mean, the stories are always so disconnected. This one, like, is just too hard to follow. And then at certain times, they like sum up the stories of the first 2 games, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that's what it was. I was trying to kill God, and there was an embryo, and oh my God.
Bro, as long as you didn't make it about circumcision, Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, what ending is that? I didn't get it yet.
That game had a really interesting sort of development history, and I won't go too deep into it, but it sort of suffices to say that they wanted to go one direction and then sort of ended up going in a different one. And the result is that it sort of tries to split the difference between the approaches of the first and second game, where it's trying to be sort of like about the story, but also metaphorical at the same time. And it's just getting kind of muddled, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of sort of symbolism throughout the game that doesn't really pay off. And as you sort of read the developer interviews about it, you sort of get the impression of where they might have gone with it. But it's an interesting game.
Yeah, I don't know where all this cult stuff is going.
Yeah, it's I won't say too much more since you're playing it, but visually it's amazing. But
yeah,
you think you'll try 4 after this?
I don't think we're gonna do The Room next year. I think we've already vetoed Silent Hill 4 The Room.
I will say this. It is worth at least trying. It's like the Majora's Mask of Silent Hill games.
That's not good.
I would love to see your take on this, whether you like it or not.
If you don't like Majora's Mask, then yeah, that might not be an endorsement. But yeah,
I really have to see how you feel about this game now. I that's not an endorsement at all for me personally, but I like the game. That's not an endorsement. I'm really curious now.
The Room?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of these days I'll definitely get to it. You guys specifically talking about giving Silent Hill Shattered Memories another go. You guys went in on a previous episode, it was probably a year ago at this point, but you guys talked about the system in Shattered Memories, which will change depending on how you play the game. That back-end knowledge made me so much more interested in that one, and I had always skipped that. So at a con like last summer, I found a copy on on the Wii. I think that's on the Wii.
Oh, that's the best one to play.
Yeah.
And I picked it up. I picked it up because of your podcast. So I'm waiting. Maybe next year we'll do that, or we might jump back to Resident Evil. I don't know.
I'm so flattered by that. That's awesome.
That is awesome. If I could make one recommendation.
Yeah.
Try to pretend like it's not a Silent Hill game.
Oh, really? Shattered Memories.
Yes, it is. I mean, in a sense, it is very reminiscent of the ethos of Silent Hill 2 in a way that doesn't feel like they're just trying to copy it.
Okay.
But it is not a traditional survival horror game. It is a very unique experience.
Interesting.
So just sort of take it on its own merits.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to getting that's in my backlog along with a ton of other stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to that before I probably visit The Room. But next year I think I'd like to go back to Resident Evil because I never played any of these remakes on stream. I played them at home, but I've streamed completion of like all the Resident Evils up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 7 or 6 and 7. God, I forgot 6 is. Ugh. I only did the Leon campaign in 6. So technically, we have some more to go back and beat there. But I would love to do remake of 2 and 3, which are kind of newer games at this point. And then like Village now has that third person mode. I kind of wanted to do that this year because I feel like I could do that in one sitting. But there I am biting off more than I can chew. Since I have till the end of this year, basically. I'm going to have to fit some extra streams in there to finish Silent Hill 3 because I looked at my progress and it's like, last week I was at halfway and I have 3 weeks left.
The pacing always did kind of feel, I know we're done with like criticizing it, but the pacing did always feel kind of bloated in 3. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. You don't even start in Silent Hill. You're like
at the mall.
You're in a music park and then you go to a mall, which, oh my God, the Japanese design.
Oh, you're going to love 4.
The Japanese design of what an American mall is so hilarious.
It's bread.
It's so funny. There's the tiniest storefront. I mean, they're all Japanese shops and storefronts and displays, and even the signage of stuff is like, this is not a store in an American mall at all.
So, can I tell you a crazy piece of trivia about Silent Hill 3 in that mall?
Yeah.
There's a bookstore in that mall.
Oh, I was going to say this. Damn it.
Do you want to say it? I can let you say it if you want to say it.
Okay, yeah. If you go to the bookstore, there's a bunch of low poly magazines, but one of them just happens to have a low poly scan of like Norman Reedus from the late 90s, like circa like modeling and Boondock Saints.
Whoa,
it's from Gossip.
Like Blade 2.
Yeah.
It's from the movie Gossip. So he's like there with like Kate, I think it's like Lena Headey and James Marsden.
Dude, how telling.
And it's like the 3 of them on the cover.
I wonder if Kojima knew that when casting him in PT.
That's a lot of people, they take that factor and they run with it.
I bet they do.
There is a weird amount of serendipity surrounding Kojima games.
Yeah.
Just bizarre how sometimes things line up like that.
I think there's a lot of broken clock is right twice a day kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And eventually, one of these games journalists is going to be right about a Metal Gear remake.
Yeah, eventually.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Eventually.
And they're going to be like, we knew it the whole time. We told you.
You didn't know shit.
20 years of saying the same thing.
I love how frustrated you guys get over the Metal Gear remake rumors. And it is sad because when it does happen, yeah, it's like,
oh yeah, there was one for the Game Awards, and
yep.
I'm not in retrospect, some of it might have been trolling, but like, my God. And then it gets to the point where like you make fun of it, and then people on Twitter who don't know you think that you making fun of it is actually you saying that you were thinking that the remake rumors were happening, which is fucking hilarious, but it's just kind of the ecosystem of Metal Gear nowadays, I guess.
It's too soon.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever heard my opinions on remakes or not. So.
Tell us again.
I think I have.
Jeez.
I've been here at the Mega64 studio all day, but we've been going over. I've been stuck in meetings all day because we're planning out our big Hanukkah cast. Is this next upcoming weekend? We do a Christmas cast every year, and in light of all the nonsense online, we're changing it up this year, and we're having a Hanukkah cast with all kosher food items and holiday related cheer. It's a new spin on our Christmas cast, and yeah, we're very excited, and that's been my whole day is getting ready for this next Sunday.
Nice.
It might have already happened by the time y'all listen to this, because I don't know how long it takes this to come out.
Yeah, it'll come out on Monday, so yeah. Yeah, I think this is actually going to be like our last episode that'll be out in 2022, actually, so I think the next one will be out at the very beginning of the next year, so.
I'm honored. Just so cool to recap everything like big Kojima news like that happened. Honestly, like we already said, right off the Game Awards announcements.
Yeah.
God, did you guys talk about his drip? Because that crushed velvet suit with the embossed logos was just something out of this world.
Yeah, it had all the different logos. Yeah.
That's going to be for sale like next week.
Oh, you know it.
I'm glad he's adding something to this because like I watch a lot of these Game Awards things and it's always just some guy in a t-shirt and a blazer, and I really hate t-shirt and blazer. You got to go something a little bit more.
Yes.
Do you know who wore a t-shirt and blazer?
It's a bad look.
Ted Bundy in court.
Tank top, shorts. Really change it up.
What would you wear if you were on the Game Awards?
I would pick an outfit from the 2003 MTV Movie Awards, and I would replicate that.
Why 03?
I don't know. There's something about that aesthetic, that vibe. Plus, it's like 20 years cycle. Some 2000 shit's coming back. I'm seeing frosted tips out there.
Was that the year Matt Stone and Trey Parker wore dresses?
Oh yeah, to the Oscars.
We're really just here to talk about that.
Oh, we're just having such a wonderful time.
They were also on shrooms that whole time too, so that's
yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. No, I don't know. Like the game developer look of blazer over your company's t-shirt is just so bad.
Yeah. Please do anything else.
I would just go dressed as JP from Grandma's Boy. It's the future of gaming.
Yo, you want to talk about the byproducts of certain eras? I really do think the t-shirt, blazer, and jeans is like a byproduct from like the 2000s era of game devs. Like we had the Rockstar era of the 90s and early 2000s. Then the mid 2000s was blazer and t-shirt.
I like dressing it up all the way. Like put the whole suit on. This is like the pinnacle of. There's not really any other gaming awards now. None that are aired to as large of an audience as the Keighleys are. I think everyone should step it up. Al Pacino, he's a little ill-fitting, that suit of his, but everyone should wear a suit. Oh yeah.
That man takes it seriously.
I felt so bad when they musicked him out, but man, I loved his whole all gold everything.
That was amazing because when they started playing the music, it just encouraged him. Like, it empowered him. He started playing to the music.
I was just like, go Chelsea!
I was cringing like a minute into his speech though, because I was cackling hysterically by the time they started playing him off. I was just like, oh no, oh, is Jeff just like sweating in the corner?
Oh
like,
yeah,
this is the first award. Oh no, he's still talking. I love the guy.
It was really funny how like they were sitting there thinking like, "Fuck, we're selling this many Steam Decks." Like, oh no,
that's all I kept thinking about.
Christopher Judge is just sitting there watching his stock in Steam just go up. He's like, hey.
I love how Keighleys addressed it and kept making jokes about the Steam Deck and going long and, making Steam users happy. Like, I love that he called attention to it. I just love... I love Jeff in general. Like, he's another one of those guys that helped us out early on at Mega64, much like, Tommy did. Like,
another EP veteran.
Yeah, and Jeff was there, like, in their guy's garage, like, filming stuff and a spotlight on Mega64, like, for television. When no one was coming to Santee, California, to, like, Sean's dad's garage.
Well, was that back in, like, the Gamehead days? I think I remember that.
Yeah. It was for Gamehead, yeah. It was him and his producer and a cameraman came out to our neck of the woods and like filmed the whole thing about Mega64. It was so cool to see him like to see him grow into this organizer, host, and kind of like figurehead for the award show. Like taking what used to be on
Spike,
Spike TV, yeah, where we used to get invited and actually go attend those. It's grown into like such a cool thing, and like seeing Jeff at the head of it, like I couldn't think of a better person to kind of like showcase that award show.
Yeah, he's definitely been a prominent guy like in the whole gaming thing.
Yeah, he's made a lot of observations.
Yeah.
He's done his research and he's learned from those experiences. I did like the one little snippet that I did like from him was that he did shout out to the Sahara folks that took the stage, the Sahara game folks, because Jeff's first foray into like game journalism was actually writing guides for Sahara games. So like back when he was like a teenager, that was like his first, from my understanding, one of his first like real publishing gigs. And that kind of started everything. So hearing that, like as a Keighleys fan, like hearing that was pretty cool. Actually, we humored the idea of getting him on the show, and like I actually got his bowling shirt from when he bowled with Reggie Fils-Aimé on Gamehead, since you brought up Gamehead, and I still have it signed by him and everything.
Oh wow! Did you win that, or how did you? Okay.
He had an episode where it was like, where it was like he was bowling with Reggie Fils-Aimé and they were like giving out like the Reggie Fils-Aimé's bowling shirt. And I was like, well, I'm a big fan of Nintendo, but like this guy wrote the final hours of Metal Gear Solid 2. Everybody probably wants Reggie's shirt, but like I get to get the shirt of the guy who wrote the final hours of Metal Gear Solid 2.
Hell yeah.
So I asked Spike, I was like, can I just get that guy's shirt? And I swear to God, every podcast he had for like the next 2 years, he brought up that story and it was so embarrassing. But like, whatever, if it made the guy feel good, he's done a lot for the industry. Good for him.
No shame in crushing on Keighleys.
Hey, it wasn't a crush. It was an industry respect, okay? But if we ever get him on the show, that's going to be the name of the episode. So thank you, Garrett.
The bowling shirt.
Okay. Oh, man.
That is my favorite Keighleys story.
That must have been around the like Wii bowling time, right? Is that why they were playing?
Yep, you got it.
Wii Sports,
advertisement for Wii Sports.
God. And aside from all the celebrities we saw on this year's Keighleys, it was like so cool to see Reggie sitting right there. I think even closer to the stage than Doug Bowser, like he's still a figurehead and he's still like an important gaming icon.
Fucking staring into the camera.
I was happy to see him.
I still forget he doesn't work there anymore.
Yeah. He was so beloved. He's like, I gotta show up.
Is he retired now, or?
When I saw him there, I was like, oh wow, Reggie. I wonder what he's gonna announce. And then I was like, wait a second. He doesn't work there anymore.
Yeah, Doug Bowser's like, he doesn't even go here.
Yeah. I think Reggie's still involved. I think he's started some type of like, I don't know if it's something like the Gang Award. What was that thing we were talking about earlier? Tommy's company made all those awards.
Yeah.
But I think Reggie is involved in maybe like some big nonprofit, gaming related things. But as far as like, CEO type stuff, I think he's retired from that.
Yeah.
Good for him.
He's done his bit. It's time
Hell
to
yeah.
retire. He's done his bit.
His body is tired.
Aww.
So I was watching the podcast you guys were doing. I think it was last night. Did you ever get around to playing any of the Game of the Years? Like the
Yeah. So I was sitting there and we co-streamed with the official the Game Awards overlay and everything. It was really cool to be included this year. And I said on stream, when it comes down to everyone thought it was going to be God of War or Elden Ring, I have them both sealed on my coffee table. Whichever one wins, I'm going home. And tonight I am starting Game of the Year 2022. And I was a man of my word. I went home and I popped in Elden Ring. And I'm sorry, God of War is just gonna have to wait a couple years now before. No, I'm gonna start that again. I'm definitely not going to finish Elden Ring anytime soon. But I definitely started that, and I am currently like sucked in.
Nice. Yeah, I had an awesome time with Elden Ring, and I don't normally play a lot of like FromSoft games, and that was one that I was like, oh shit, this is one I can actually get into, and I dumped probably 50, 60 hours into it. Didn't beat it, but still, that was one that I could actually play.
I had waited until the hype had kind of died on Bloodborne, and I played that. That was like the only thing I was playing on my PS5 because there weren't a lot of games out when it launched, and that was a free game that month for the PlayStation Network. So I fell in love with Bloodborne as I'd been kind of waiting to play that for a couple of years. Just smashed it, beat all the DLC bosses and everything, and then my goal with Elden Ring was like, wait for that price drop.
Yeah.
Just wait. I don't have time to play it right now. And like, sure enough, Black Friday deal, it was $34. I got that thing sealed. It won Game of the Year, and that's when I popped it in. I only play award-winning AAA titles. But no, I'm really having fun. I'm I don't know, like maybe like 15, 20 hours in. I got a couple bosses under my belt, and it's the same grind that from software games. So like if you like that type of thing, like, oh my God, it deserved Game of the Year. I think the map is fucking huge.
Yeah, especially I don't know. Have you gotten like teleported anywhere?
Transported?
Yeah, okay.
You got to the moment.
This morning, dude. This morning it put me in a corner of the map.
Like, oh shit!
I didn't know it existed. I'm like, oh, let me open this chest. Uh-oh, I got teleported. Well, how far can I? What?
Yeah, you open up the map, you're like, oh fuck.
It opened up because the map wouldn't open up that big before because I hadn't revealed like the fog of war in that area or whatever. So now it's like huge, and I'm going, oh shit, yeah, I'm definitely starting God of War before I finish this.
I will say, Sean's complaints about God of War are pretty much mine. That's like, it's just there's parts of it where you're just walking and talking. It's just like, I get this. Like the combat's not too bad. Like I miss it not being over the shoulder and having that like zoomed out kind of arena feel to it.
Yeah.
But there's just parts of it where you're just like, hurry the fuck up. This is so boring. So that's kind of the part.
Me and Rocco said the exact same thing about it, like independently from each other. But
yeah, they both called it MCU. Like it's just like there's just all that weird writing and talking, just like with that Horizon game. Did you ever finish that, or was that writing too much for you too? Like I couldn't.
No,
finish that at all.
I watched my girlfriend play both of the Horizon games, and there were times where it was just like, yo, you gotta move this along, guys. Like, really slow dialogue.
Yeah, the first one wasn't too bad, but the second one I was like, God damn.
They do like their pomp and circumstance.
Yeah.
It's so serious. It's so melodramatic.
They also really like not giving you a chance to like both games. They really don't like giving you a chance to figure out what's going on before they're like, gotta do this, gotta do that. Hey, you're on fire.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, Can't you disable that in the new God of War?
No.
I could have swore I heard that you could turn it
Reporting
off in
back,
accessibility
no.
or something.
Bro, if you could, do you think Fingers would come back as angry as he was?
No, it's that
No,
pacing.
that's-
It's not even the dialogue that like of them talking about puzzles and combat. It's just like the slow walk pacing stuff, like Red Dead Redemption 2 level of like, holy shit, please hurry up. And like the
Yeah.
squeezing through walls type loading screen stuff, like we're still doing that. It's just this weird, like it's God of War 2018 again. Like
Yeah, they had that in the Callisto Protocol, which is like the most next-gen looking game I've played.
I still can't get over that we're all arguing about a video game starring Fergie's ex. Like, that's all I can think about. This game.
I played through the Callisto Protocol, and there's a lot to like, but it's pretty rough around the edges in a lot of ways too. But visually, I mean, I don't think I've seen a game that really feels next gen more than this one. But they still do the whole, hey, we're going to make you squeeze through a tight corridor to hide the fact that we're loading the next area thing. Like, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Is that a glaring problem for you in games? Because I don't know if I care that much about those. Because like everything does have. You're right though. It's overused.
I can't not see it. You know,
I don't mind that as much as
Maybe-
the slow walking talkie bits. Like that's the part where I'm just like, oh my god, please
Yeah.
put a skip button in this, or at least
Same.
something.
I feel like it would bother me less if it was just a loading screen
Uh-huh.
in a weird way, because that doesn't take me out of the story.
I miss loading screens. I miss seeing tips and tricks.
It is funny, like the closer we get to this medium as like I mean, you guys are a podcast specifically about Kojima games. Like you're very close to the source. And you know, when we were kids and the door in Resident Evil opened, I didn't know it was a loading screen. I was just like, oh, cool. I'm opening this door and I'm going to be surprised by what's around the corner. No idea that, this is a technological
I mean,
imperative door that has to be
like
there.
even in high school when like the elevators on Mass Effect, I was just like, yeah, I get more dialogue with my friends. It was a loading
Yeah.
screen the whole time.
That was
You didn't know, yeah.
that was the first time.
We're ruined.
But I mean, like you think about those compared to like a guy going through like crawling through the floor or something like that. So I can see why Nitroid's a bit
Yeah.
disgruntled.
Once you open that Resident Evil loading door, like you can't shut it. You notice it forever. Like
yeah, and that's the thing.
But then Resident Evil went, and then in RE2, they had the one door you open up where the zombies actually came through at you.
Yeah.
oh god, that was
good.
fucking awesome.
Played with your
Yeah.
expectations, yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the most memorable moments in RE2.
Totally.
But like, I think it's funny you bring up Mass Effect in the elevator, because I think that was the first time I remember a game being mentioned in an article about sort of like these loading screens aren't really all that transparent anymore. Like we know what they're doing. You know, that was like the first awareness I sort of had of it was Mass Effect.
I think Callisto Protocol is committing a much bigger crime, which needs to disappear from video games completely. And I might seem biased, but they need to stop putting unskippable cutscenes in games. None
Yeah.
of your cutscenes should ever be unskippable.
You'll never take Kyrie's heart.
They spent like $1 billion on each one.
Oh, there's unskippable cutscenes?
Callisto Protocol, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's fucked
Yeah.
up for speedrunning. I mean, I don't necessarily want them to, you guys covered this a couple weeks ago, but I don't want them to bake in speedrunning techniques like that. That is counterintuitive to the art form.
Agreed.
Man, you do listen to our show. Jesus.
Shouts out.
Calling speedrunning an art form is funny.
It's true though.
but-
Where's the
but-
lie?
I'm so impressed by how good you are on our show, by the way.
But for real though, like yeah, that is kind of messed up. Not being able to skip a cutscene, that especially on even a casual second playthrough, like okay,
Exactly.
you should be able.
It's not just.
I didn't know that. That's a mark against Callisto Protocol, big time.
It's not just about speedrunners. It's.
I mean, is it like a QTE or something?
No, it's not a QTE or anything. Though
Okay,
there
that's like the
are-
only reason I can think to not do it. Like that's the only
No,
time I can be
it's-
like, okay, to do a QTE real quick and hit the thing or the reaction. But yeah,
Imagine every cutscene in Metal Gear Solid was unskippable.
Oh God, no! I don't have that kind of
Because
time.
everyone wants to replay it at some point, and maybe you'll watch the one you really like. You'll watch Ocelot meowing or whatever.
Yep.
But there'll be other stuff where you're just like, I just want to play more game, because I've already seen these cutscenes. It's not just about speedrun. I just don't think any developer can say this cutscene should be watched every single time, every time you play it forever. No cutscene is that good. And if it's that good, just make it a ladder.
Hey, yeah, only New Game Plus could skip. Make it so only New Game Plus can skip cutscenes.
I mean, exactly, right? New Game Plus, skip cutscenes, fine.
And the cutscenes do have that sort of like transition into gameplay thing, but like I've seen other games do that and still let you skip them.
Mm-hmm.
Even better, make it part of the gameplay, a la Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. If you beat the game already and Eric tries to offer you that videotape challenge, you just fucking punch him in the face and move on with your life.
That was so ahead of its time. That shit was awesome.
How many years has it been since that
Secret
game? And I'm
ending.
still mad at that kid.
Yeah.
Colonel just comes to your house in Alaska. He's like, Snake, we need you. And Snake's just like, no.
Well, at the beginning of Persona 5, there's a question, and
Oh,
if you
yeah?
answer no, it just takes you back to the title screen.
It does the same thing with one of the Paper Marios. It's like they keep asking, like, you got to be the hero, man. And it's like, nah, okay, game over.
Okay.
Far Cry did something with that too, where like the villain, like if you don't get up and escape the room, you just come back.
Yeah,
and, like, just like
Far Cry
shoots you.
4.
He gives you, even better, he gives you exactly what you want. He's like, come on, let's go bury your mom's ashes. Let me show you around the place. We'll have a good time. End credits.
He's your buddy now.
Yeah. Once again, Troy Baker.
Ah, he's so good. I just wish he'd stop wearing that fucking hat.
Yeah, that's that also gives a lot of like t-shirt, blazer, and jeans energy.
Oh God, yeah. Too many necklaces and hat vibe is like, I don't know. It freaks me out.
He's loving life though.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he had a ball with all that shit that he was featured on at the Game Award at the Keighleys. So
Kojima coming to him like, "Hey, we need you to sing for the trailer."
And then all the Last of Us movie stuff that they were or not movie, but the HBO show and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's killing it. Maybe I'm just jealous. I need to wear a big hat.
Too many accessories.
I'm one to talk.
Well, Garrett, we appreciate you coming on, man. It's been awesome. It's been good talking with you.
I am always happy to lend my voice. Yeah, I am quite the fan of the Kojima Frequency, and I want to shout out. You guys had Carcinogen on a few episodes ago. That like the only. I'm just at heart. I'm a Metal Gear and Resident Evil fanboy, and then like all other games are like okay, but Carcy's been like the only game streamer I've ever really followed. You know, being someone who streams on Twitch, you know, weekly myself, I don't really watch a lot of Twitch, with the exception of like Carcy's Resident Evil stuff has just always been there. So I was so stoked you guys had him on.
oh yeah, he's awesome, and Poos is awesome too.
Yeah,
Hell yeah, I love Carcy.
and the overall, let me just like compliment his like attitude to being a content creator online. Like, I can't tell you how much I love his like fuck you attitude of like no, I'm here to do the things I want to do, and don't come into my chat and talk to me about what we're like. Just I've always admired his not abrasive, but really like take no shit approach to all of his social media, all of his internet, you know, content, I will say.
I loved his recent foray into Dead Space where he's like, "This is fucking awful. I'm gonna no-hit this whole thing. Watch me." So good.
But always happy to be back on. And you can catch me streaming on Twitch every Wednesday for Mega64. I do a show called The Poorly Played Stream. And we usually play modern and contemporary stuff, with the exception of over the summer, I'm always going to tackle a full playthrough of a Metal Gear game. And for Halloween, we're always going to be bouncing around some horror franchise. So from Silent Hill 3 this year, I think I'm going to put it back into Resident Evil next year.
Nice.
But yeah, tune in Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific on Mega64 podcast. And then we archive those episodes every Friday on the Mega64 Archives YouTube channel.
Nice.
Yeah. And tune into the Hanukkah cast.
I'm looking forward to that.
this Sunday. It might have aired by the time you're listening to this, but it'll be up on our Mega64 YouTube channels.
Heck yeah.
And if people want to follow you, you're over at Garrett Hunter on Twitter.
Yep. GarrettHunter on Twitter and Garrett Hunter 64 on Instagram. I'll let you know when I'm going live on Twitch. And that's about it. I've been steering clear of social media. Has been quite a denizen of nonsense in the last few years. But yeah, I will always be promoting when I'm on and when I'm live and what gets archived there. So check it out.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Love talking to you guys. Thanks.